guys, tonight I'm going to talk to you about stem and leaf plot. A stem and leaf plot is something that we can use to interpret data. It's a table that shows groups of data that are arranged by place value. So let's say that you've got your test scores and you want to look and see what kind of grade you're going to have. Or if you're a teacher and you've got test scores and you want to see where your kids were ranging on a certain test, you can make a bar graph. This particular kind of bar graph is called a histogram, and it shows the test scores. Of course, it's got the number of students on this axis and scores on the x-axis, and it's got the number of students as 5 students, and you can see here that the typical score for a kid was between 90 and 99 because it's got the tallest bar. And the smallest amount was only 1 student between 70 and 79. The problem with this is it gives you a range of data between 70 and 79, between 80 and 89, between 90 and 99, whereas the stem and leaf plot shows you exact data. So, for instance, these same test scores, what we've done is set them up into a stem and leaf plot. You can see only one child had a score in the 70s, and it was a 75. Here you can see that 3 kids had a score in the 80s. It was an 81, an 83, and an 83. Same thing in the 90s. You can see most of the kids got an A. There was 1 in the low 90s, but there were 4 in an upper 90. So same thing with your grades. If you wanted to plot your scores, you could do the same thing. That way you could see, oh, I mainly have B's or I mainly have A's. Let's make it mainly A's. I know you guys will. Okay, so in order to read a stem and leaf plot, the 7 with the line in between it and the 5 represents 75. Again, that's your place value. So you've got your 10 separated from your 1's column. It allows you to see the exact value, whereas a bar graph does not. We know that 3 kids had a score in the range of 80 to 89, but we don't know their exact score, but with the stem and leaf we do. And it shows you how data is clustered. At a glance, we can see that the majority of the kids had a score in the 90s because there's so many leaves off of this stem. Okay. So now I want to talk to you about how to make a stem and leaf plot and how to read a stem and leaf plot. Okay, so for example, making a stem and leaf plot has a set of rules or steps, just like everything else in math. So for this example, we're going to use the number of students that attended 24 Club. There were 27 on 1 week, 36, 39, 40, 45, 51, 46, 57, 51, 54, 37, 41. The first thing that you want to do is you want to separate your values into stems and leaves. Like I showed you on the earlier example, a 27 would have a 2 on one side and a 7 on the other side of the line. Let's say that you have more than just a 2-digit number. Let's say you have a 3-digit number. For that example, 145 would be separated into 14 on one side and 5 on the other. So the 1s is on the right hand of your line. The second thing you want to do is list stems vertically from least to greatest with a line to the right. So the stems are going to be listed on the left side of the line. Okay, so our stems, we can see we've got 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and that's it. So we're going to go from least to greatest. So 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Then your leaves are listed from least to greatest horizontally. So what we're going to do is, let's look at our 20s first. We have 27, and that is the only 2 we have. So we can easily just put the 7 here. Then I need to look at my 30s. I've got 36, 39, 37. But I need to remember that I'm going from least to greatest. So I need to ask myself, what's the smallest? That's right, 6, then 7, then 9. You'll notice that I'm not using commas to separate. This would be 36, this is 37, this is 39. Now, just to make things a little bit easier for myself, I might want to put a little check mark or even cross out my numbers once I use them, just like I would if I was doing ABC orders, so that I can narrow down my focus and really look at what I'm trying to learn. The next thing I want to look at is my 40s. I've got 40, 45, 46, and 41. So 40, 41, then I've got 45 and 46. Okay, now that I've used all my 40s, I've got my 50s. I have a 51, 57, 51, and 54. Now, even though I have two numbers that are the same, every value is recorded. So if I have two of the same number, I still have to record each of those numbers. So I have 51, 51, I've got 57 and 54 left. 4 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 numbers. That's how I check to make sure I recorded each one in my stem and leaf plot. A key is often included, so you need to make sure that you let somebody know that a 2 separated by a 7 is equivalent to 27, or you could even use the word means. And I also want to title it. In this case, this is my number of students at 24. Then the last thing I want to talk to you about tonight is how to read a stem and leaf plot. If you can make it, you can read it. So let's take as an example, students' height in inches. I'm going to scoot this up just to make sure you guys can see it. As you can tell, I'm recording from home, so this is not as easy as recording from the classroom. So forgive me for just a second. Let me just scoot this up, make sure you guys can see. Because I don't have anyone to help me. I don't have my sweet Miss Mason and my lovely Miss Wheeler or my fabulous Miss Bell. Okay, so let's look at reading this stem and leaf plot with students' height in inches. We can tell that my stems are 4s, 5s, and 6s. Okay, and they told me, they labeled it that 4 with a line of 8 means 48 inches. So how many students were measured? In order to number how many students, all I have to do is look at how many leaves I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 students that were measured. Which height shows up the most? We're going to talk a lot about this week. That's called the mode. Mode. That M-O helps me remember most. Most often. I can quickly look here and see that 55 was repeated 3 times. 64 was repeated only twice. So the height that showed up the most was 55 inches. Oops, sorry, that was my tape. Then the last question they asked was, how much taller is the tallest person than the shortest person? The tallest would be the most amount of inches. The shortest would be the least amount of inches. So 64 inches. And how do I find difference? You guys are so brilliant. You're right, you subtract. I'm subtracting the least amount, 48, from the greatest amount, 64. Can 4 take away 8? Nope, sure can't. So I got to borrow, right? 14 minus 8 is 6. And 5 minus 4 is 1. So the difference between the tallest person and the shortest person is 16 inches. We're going to talk a whole lot more about that this week. I hope that this has helped. See you guys soon. Peace.